Hello, everybody, and welcome back once again to the Anarchy Arena Podcast, episode number 22. Now, as you'll hear as we go into this episode, we are recording this still in the midst of the lockdown here in the great state of Tennessee. And I got to admit, being in lockdown for this long has kind of brought up some things that tick me off. So prepare for a rant where the Themetalbarrett, aka me, aka Chris, rants about a lot of different things, and John acts as my therapist. I know that's hard to believe, but he does, and it's definitely an interesting listen. So if you ever wanted to hear what it sounds like when I go on a tangent and get ranty and get pissed off, this is the episode for you. Episode 22 of the Anarchy Arena Podcast. Chris has a riot.
Thank you so much for joining us once again here on the Anarchy Arena Podcast. Today is kind of a therapy day, I do believe.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it kind of is.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it kind of is.
Okay, fine, it is.
Chris has been stuck in his house a lot longer than I have. I've been doing it for like the last couple of weeks, but Chris has been stuck in his house for, what, 2 months now?
Going on a fucking month. Going on a fucking month. Going out of my fucking mind, people.
And, We brought something up in the last episode we recorded about the BSA, or the Boy Scouts of America. And Chris was like, I really need to have a rant episode. So I figured, what the fuck? Let's let him have a rant episode. I'll be the therapist and you can just lay out everything you want.
Therapist/interviewer, and we'll just go out about shit that ticks me off.
Okay, so the reason why we brought up the Boy Scouts of America, and some of you may not know this, Chris was/is an Eagle Scout.
That is correct. Yes, I still have the uniform. No, it does not fit. No, I will not post pictures.
I've seen him wear it before. It's kind of cute. But yeah, you actually went through the entire Boy Scout like tier system, I guess. I don't know how to
I did
fucking say it. I got kicked out at fucking, Cub. So
ouch.
It's whatever. I don't really give a shit. But you went through the whole thing. You went from Cub Scout all the way up to fucking Eagle Scout, right?
Correct. I did.
And you have a problem with them, even though you went all the way through it. And what are some of your problems with the Boy Scouts?
Okay, so before I go into their problems, I want to say something very important about Boy Scouts of America. At their core of what they do for the youth of America, their core ideals are great. They get kids out of their house. They get kids away from their screens. They get kids learning skills that, let's face it, this upcoming generation probably not getting taught by our generation as much as, let's say, our father's generation was teaching us.
Well, yes and no. So some of those skills are very useful. Some of those, you can learn a lot from the Boy Scouts. A lot of the other stuff you can, I don't know, man. I'm one of those bad kids, so I learned all my stuff through trial and fucking error. So.
Which is also a good way to do it.
Yeah.
No, at their core, the idea behind scouting is a good one. Get out into the wilderness, get out and learn some of these, to a certain extent, lost, forgotten skills.
Yep.
A little bit of camaraderie, building character, building, how to speak kind of diplomatically, how to lead a group of your own age, which will come into play more when I talk about some of the problems. For the most part, I had a good experience with scouting.
Right.
I got lucky. I was not in one of those troops that made the news. And I want to make that very clear. The group of guys and the group of adults that I was with, all that crap that you hear on the news, this did not happen in my troop. Right. Nor would I ever say that. Some of these guys are absolutely fantastic people. Matter of fact, I'm still friends with some of the guys I went through scouts with to this day.
Right.
So the basic idea behind Boy Scouts, and we'll deal with Cub Scouts in a second, because Cub Scouts obviously leading into Boy Scouts. The basic idea behind Boy Scouts is supposed to be boy run, boy led, with mild adult supervision. Obviously, if your senior patrol leader says, hey, everybody go throw knives at each other. Yeah, no, we're not going to allow that, okay? I mean, that's pretty obvious. Did we throw knives?
Yes.
Did we throw them at each other? No, we threw them in the mud because we're stupid. Don't ask.
I mean,
summer camp gets boring sometimes, okay?
Yeah, true. You can only build so many boxcars.
Hey, man, I loved the Pinewood Derby. That was the shit when I was a kid. Yeah, the idea is supposed to be boy run, boy led. And my particular troop didn't have a problem with doing that. The adults were as hands-off as they needed to be and only stepped in when necessary, and more of a advisory role. Like, might pull a kid aside and go, hey, you know, I see you doing this. You might want to try X, Y, and Z instead of what you're doing. So for the most part, I had a very positive experience. The issues that I have, once again, not with the group that I was with, but the issues I have are with scouting as a whole and what a lot of these other troops have become. Because the reason we say boy led, boy run is for a reason. The idea is to build leadership qualities. The idea is to build a sense of how you act as an adult.
Yeah. I mean, you know more than I do, obviously. About
I went through the whole system from Wolf Scout all the way up. No, I did not do Tigers. I didn't do it in kindergarten.
I did in kindergarten too. So
kindergarten,
I was like,
first grade, one of the two. I can't remember. One of those is Tigers.
I remember being like Tiger, then Cub, then so but just looking at it from the outside,
okay.
It looks like an organization that is kind of, it's a little old timey.
It's very old timey,
but I understand why parents and kids would love to do it. But knowing about all their politics outside of Scouts,
which is where a lot of the problems come in.
Yeah.
You've got a lot of these groups that say they're boy run, boy led, and they're totally not. The parents have total control, and the kids don't learn anything except how to get merit badges as fast as possible, to shoot out Eagle Scouts as quick as possible. Because, and this is true, putting Eagle Scout on a job resume, on a college application, or anything else looks really fucking good.
Yeah.
A lot of very important people in history have been Eagle Scouts. Neil Armstrong, Eagle Scout.
Yeah.
Jim Lovell, Apollo 13 commander, Eagle Scout. And slews of other people I couldn't even begin to name off right now. It looks very good when you're putting that down on things. Even as an adult, when they look back and go, oh, well, he did this when he was younger, so he's got some basics of how to be, a leader.
Right.
But a problem that a lot of these groups have is because they're so adult-led and oriented, they just try to shoot Eagle Scouts out as fast as possible, because that's all these parents care about, is what's going to look good on my little boy's college transcript, what's going to look good on his first job application.
Yeah.
And that's not the point of it. The point of it is to do the work yourself and earn it, not have it be handed to you.
Right. I mean, also, I think probably those troops know that it's a money game too.
It is a little bit.
If you're pumping out Eagle Scouts left and right every year, then parents like, oh, well, this one's a really good one. I'm gonna have Timmy join this one.
Right. I'm going to invest my time and my money into doing this,
because it is a little bit of a money drain.
It didn't used to be.
Yeah.
It didn't used to be. Now, it's not like BSA has union dues or anything. There are small fees you pay because most scouting troops, whether it's Cub Scouts or Boy Scouts, do hold their meetings at local churches. That just, there's a reason for that. It's always been that way. I don't particularly agree with
BSA. Reason for it?
BSA's affiliation with the church goes all the way back to the first Scouts with Baden-Powell. He was an extremely conservative religious guy.
Yeah.
And that's why you hear all these things about duty to God, duty to country, duty to self. It was also, it started off as kind of a paramilitary thing under the guise of teaching boys. They grew out of that, thankfully, but it's always had very strong religious connections. And I never agreed with that, because I have seen it, again, not in the group that I was with, but I have seen it and I have heard about it, where kids have been not allowed to go to scouting because of the church that they're based out of does not coincide with that particular family's beliefs, or doesn't coincide with that particular family's lifestyle. As I'm sure a lot of people have heard, BSA has had in the past a lot of very negative things to say about the homosexual community. They're finally starting to come around a little bit.
Well, the problem is that they kept kicking people out for being gay.
They did.
They kicked out a scout leader, I think, or troop leader.
They kicked out a few adults who were on
who were Eagle Scouts, fully trained, know how to run a troop, know how to run everything, but because they happen to like dick, they get kicked out.
Right, because they're so worried that these adults are going to go around fucking these kids. No, they're not. They're not. Not every gay person wants to stick it in every dude's ass. They just don't.
Well,
I'm not gay. I'm just making an assumption here, but I've known enough gay people to know that that's just not true. Okay.
Well, and the other part of it is like gay adult men like to have sex with other gay adult men.
Yeah.
The people you are afraid they're going to stick it in a kid are the ones you have your meeting in their house every damn week.
Yes.
Oh, I'll say it. I don't give a shit.
And that has happened. So there's that side of it. There's the side of it where some troops are very corporatized, for lack of a better term, because the way the hierarchy works in a Boy Scout troop is you have the boy leadership, which runs from senior patrol leader, assistant senior patrol leader, patrol leaders, assistant patrol leaders, all the way down to patrol quartermasters and all that. Yeah. Again, based off military ideas. Then you have the adult advisory board, which is, for lack of a better term, a board of directors. Yeah. They're there to make sure, okay, well, we're planning this trip. We need to make sure we have these funds. These are the things that the adults have to do to make sure the boys get to go do what they want to do.
And they just run run regions of troops, right? Like they don't.
No. Every troop has their own board of directors. Basically, yes. Every troop has for that specific reason. Okay, like for instance, a lot of troops get to do this, and I got to do this, and it was really cool. I went to a place called Philmont Scout Ranch, which is out in Cimarron, New Mexico, and it is I'm trying to remember how many days we did now. It was either 7 or 10. I can't remember. It was so many years ago. It's either 6 nights, 7 days, or 10 days, 11. One of the two. I can't remember. But it's a backpacking trip in the New Mexico wilderness.
Right.
Which obviously to set up, and that camp has to run and be able to feed and provide safety for all these boys. It costs money.
Yeah.
It costs money. So you have the adult, for lack of a better term, board of directors who has to make sure that all that gets taken care of and all that sign up it gets done and whatnot. If you're listening to this and you either have a kid in Scouts or you yourself are in Scouts and you have an opportunity to do Philmont, don't turn it down. It is an amazing experience. It will break you. It will test you. It will be fun, and it will be hell all at the same time. But I would not change a thing about going to Philmont. That was one of the coolest things I ever got to do. So yeah, you've got the whole corporatized side of it. And BSA as an organization has to make money somehow for ads and for camps and for a lot of other things, and they've kind of allied themselves with the church for this in the sense that BSA is a tax exempt organization. They are a non-profit organization.
And before we go any further, I would like to point out that we're talking about the BSA. We're not talking about the Girl Scouts, because I actually like the Girl Scouts, and I want them to stay open. BSA needs some very deep changes.
So the Girl Scouts started later.
Yep.
They started much after the Boy Scouts, and they started running their organization the same way, and then they changed a lot of things a lot quicker than BSA did. Now, and I may be wrong about this, so whoever in the comments or tweet me, I believe they're run by the same organization now, which is just Scouting of America, because they're trying to integrate everybody, which I'm totally fine with. You know, there are certain skill. The problem I have with the distinction between BSA and Girl Scouts of America is Girl Scouts of America is very 1950s female-oriented skills.
Oh, yeah, it's all about being a homemaker.
Exactly. Whereas Boy Scouts of America has that, plus all the outdoorsy, quote-unquote, boy things. I'm sorry. If I have a kid and she ends up being a girl and she wants to go out and go camping and learn how to do wilderness survival and orienteering and how to whittle and all that other crap, go for it. Let's do it.
But the other problem, the other thing that the Girl Scouts of America do, which BSA does not, they allow LGBT people to be in their ranks and not have any questions asked. You're just allowed to run it or have your kid in it and stuff like that. And there's no quid pro quo. There's no issue about that, which to their credit is something they did long before BSA even started considering it. BSA has been very slow on the uptake on that. I'm very disappointed in them for that. It's supposed to be an inclusionist thing. Basically, Boy Scouts of America is designed so everybody is supposed to be allowed to do it. Everybody is supposed to have this opportunity. Yeah. Now, is there a slight paywall to it? Very slight. Very slight. Because again,
trips like that and camping and whatnot, they cost money. They do. Absolutely. I'm not going to deny that.
Yeah, you can't sell enough tins of popcorn for that.
No. Also, Cub Scout popcorn is delicious, and I had to fight myself this year not to buy. which was for dietary reasons, not screw Boy Scouts reasons.
It is pretty good.
It's oh my God. I remember selling that shit as a kid. Our garage would smell like popcorn for fucking weeks afterwards from all that shit being held in there. So again, I had a positive experience. I know a lot of people that didn't.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people in my own troop that came very close to not having positive experiences. We had one kid that almost got kicked out. We were all 95% sure that he was on the homosexual side of things. We didn't say anything about it. We didn't care.
Right, because it shouldn't be that big of a fucking deal. The Boy Scouts of America should just be about learning how to simple outdoor skills and simple life skills.
Correct. So the guys, we were pretty sure we didn't give a shit.
Yeah, of course you didn't, because this is the guy that's tying knots with you.
Exactly. We don't care. Yeah, he's gonna bunk with me for a night on a camp out. Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
It's not as big a deal as they made it out to be for so fucking long. It's just absolutely ridiculous. One of the other issues I have is, so when you go for Eagle Scout, there are a lot of requirements. Matter of fact, the last 3 ranks all have stipulations.
Yeah.
Like you have to have these certain merit badges, as well as an X number of other ones, as well as have completed activities X, Y, and Z. Don't ask me what they are. I can't remember anymore. I'm 31. This was years ago. But there's a lot of the required ones that I don't agree with. Like, for instance, there is a religion merit badge, which now this might have changed, but at the time was required to be an Eagle Scout. Well, I've said it before. I'm an atheist. My parents aren't particularly spiritual in any way, shape, or form. So that was kind of weird. Like, why is this required for me? Luckily, we had a very liberal group of Scoutmasters, the adults who understood, because that's another purpose of the adults is to basically be instructors for these merit badges. They have to be approved by BSA and take a class to do all that. Usually it's someone who has a field of expertise in that. Like we had a guy who's a professional mathematician, and he was there for any of the mathematics or science-based ones. He was our counselor for that. So things like that.
Right.
Basically, we had a very liberal group of adults who understood not everyone's like that, and we kind of fudged it a little bit. Sorry, guys, but we did. Because you have to in that case.
Well, I mean, there would have been no way for you to pass that.
No, exactly, because I didn't have that, and I still don't, and I don't think that's a fair wall to put in place.
Yeah.
I think you need to let these kids and their parents know coming into it how involved in the religious side of BSA your particular troop or pack is. If you don't, and they flake because of it, that's on you, not on the parent and their kids. Don't blame the parent and their kids because you didn't tell them how involved with the religious side of things that you are. Right. I wish BSA would step back from that completely, but it's never going to fucking happen.
How was your troop, like, represented as far as, like, ethnicities and religion, shit like that?
We were relatively diverse. Now, granted, this was in Northern Virginia, which is a extremely diverse population.
Yeah, it is.
God, I wish I could remember the kid's name, but we had a guy from Barbados for about 6 months. His family were diplomats, and they'd moved into the area.
Yeah.
And so he was in our troop for like 6 months. Coolest fucking dude ever. And everyone was completely enamored with his accent and whatnot. But yeah, dude was super fucking cool. We had a lot of different ethnicities, a lot of different spiritual backgrounds. I mean, I'm half Jewish, technically speaking. I was going to a scout meeting at a Lutheran church every Monday.
Yeah, well.
So,
but, well, the reason why I ask is, like, if Muslims or Hindus or even Jews go to this thing, do they still have to go through the same religious, like, badge in order to become an Eagle Scout? Because the Eagle Scout's kind of your end goal in that thing.
Yes, that's essentially what it is. Yes, they do. However, I know that since I've been in, they've changed the requirements for that badge to not focus solely on Christendom. They let it be more about spirituality than about a specific religion.
Okay.
And I hope it stays that way. But yeah, no, our group was extremely ethnic. Now, living in Tennessee now, like I do, I see the Boy Scouts and the Cub Scouts out when they're selling their popcorn, and I see the kids sitting down playing on their phones and the adults selling it.
Yeah.
I see very white bread troops with not a whole lot of ethnicity or anything like that. And I don't know if that's those particular families don't want to be a part of it, or if they were told no. I don't know either way. It's kind of sad to see, though.
It's probably a combination of both.
It's probably a combination of both.
They don't want to be part of it because they've been told no for so long.
Probably. It's sad because I learned a lot of valuable skills. It's also a lot of work.
Yeah.
Like, you have to finish every single requirement for your Eagle Scout by your 18th birthday, or you don't get it. I literally finished signing the last piece of paperwork I had to do on my 18th birthday.
Right. And just kind of, looking at it from the outside, because I have no clue what it's like to be an Eagle Scout. You literally finished on your 18th birthday,
right?
And it was a struggle. And why was it so much of a struggle?
To be completely honest, part of it was me. I was very much a procrastinator at that age. Part of it is you had to call and get in contact with so many people. You actually have to have a letter of recommendation from a local government official in order to be an Eagle Scout. So you have to get that letter in by that time.
What?
Yes, I know. It's weird.
What does your local representative have anything to do with your ability to tie knots?
No, I don't fucking know. The other big thing about Eagle Scout is, I'm sure a lot of people have heard over the years, is you have what's called an Eagle Project. It's a big community service project, and there's a lot of logistics that go into it. It's not just something you can go, hey, I'm going to go do this weekend and be done with it. No, it's an insane amount of logistics that have to get approved and approved and approved, or denied and then approved again, and signed in triplicate, and then buried in peat moss for 3 months, and then eventually, turned up later, forgotten for all time. Right. So there's a lot that goes into it. It's a lot of work to put on somebody that age.
What was your Eagle program?
So my Eagle project, I'm relatively proud of.
As he takes a hit of a cigarette, just so you guys know.
Yeah, I know, right? My Eagle project, I'm very proud of. So where I grew up was not far from the local Army base. And my grandmother worked on that Army base until the day she died. When she passed away, they set up a memorial park right outside her job in her name. And when she passed away and we had the ceremony for it, at the time, post commandant came out and did a commemoration. I was having a really hard time trying to figure out what to do for my project. And I went to my grandmother's park and I was like, wait, this is perfect. This thing hasn't been updated in years. No one's cleaned it. No one's painted it, stained it, done anything. The guys over here at the post use it all the time. Screw it. Let's do this. This is great for my family. This is great for me. This is great for an Eagle project. Why not? So that's what I ended up doing, which required even more approvals and whatnot, because I had to get approvals for all of these kids and their parents and whoever else to come on to a military installation to clean up this park. Now, we remulched it. We gravelled it. We planted some things. We stained some stuff, and basically made it look like it was brand new. It's also where I had my Eagle ceremony to say, yes, he finally did it. Here's the badge. Here's everything else. What was really cool is the former post commandant and the current post commandant came out and rededicated the park that day.
Nice.
And we got the original park plaque hanging up in my parents' house now. So that was really cool.
Cool.
But most projects don't have that much logistics. I'm sure not everybody is doing an Eagle project on a fucking military base. So take your Eagle project and multiply it by about 5. And that's what I had to go through to get that shit done. It was ridiculous. And it's a lot of stress to put on a kid that age.
Right.
And the other problem is if I remember correctly, the rank before Eagle is called Life Scout. And you can't be a Life Scout until a certain age requirement.
Right.
So you've only got, if I remember right, about 1.5 years to get all that done. For a kid that age who's also doing school and whatever extracurricular activities and also trying to think about college and potentially also having a job, that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's not for everybody. And if you know what, if you go through scouting and you don't make it to Eagle, guess what? That's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay to not make it all the way. It's not meant for everybody. It's a serious amount of work, almost to the point that I think a lot of those rules need to be changed, because should it be hard? Yes, it should be hard. It shouldn't be something everybody should get. But to put that on the plate of somebody at 16, 17, almost 18 years old, that's a lot to do to somebody that age. And I almost stopped. I almost backed out completely because I'm done. I can't do this.
Yeah. Which, I mean, to kind of go back on a previous point, it surprises me when they pump out these fucking Eagle Scouts like they're nothing. Because I'm like, just listening to you talk about it, it seems like it's a really difficult process, especially like for a kid, much less an adult.
Yeah.
It's a really, really time-consuming process for a 16-year-old high schooler.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And another stipulation of that is that, like I mentioned earlier, a lot of these merit badges are required in order to make Eagle.
Right.
Some of those badges you can't do in your backyard. You can't do at a Monday night troop meeting. You have to go to one of the various summer camps or what have you, where they have trained counselors specifically for that. Things like, for instance, wilderness survival. You can't just grab Joe Schmo from the board meeting and say, hey, let's do wilderness survival this weekend. No, it doesn't work that way.
Right.
So I had to do it at a summer camp, which of course costs money to go to, costs money for the whole troop to get involved with. The camp itself has to have money to maintain itself.
Right.
Though they're obviously not spending much on it when they've had the same crappy green canvas tents for 25 years.
Yes.
So the other problem there being is that, yes, there is a bit of a paywall to being an Eagle Scout, which I don't agree with. If you're willing to put in the work, there should be no barriers to you.
Well, see, that's the fucked up part about it. Poor kids have a real big problem being an Eagle Scout.
True.
Like,
they do.
Like, poor kids can do, like, Cub Scouts, Wolf Scouts, Weeaboo, whatever the fuck it is. I said Weeaboo.
Not Weeaboo, Weeblow.
Weeblow, excuse me. That's how little I know about it. The Weeaboo Scouts are much different.
Chase is like, what?
What? Nani? But the Weeblow Scouts and shit like that, yeah, you can do that for relatively cheap. But once you get to a certain point, that's when the money starts actually coming in. It's almost cultish if you think about it.
It is very cultish in a way, and it's getting more so that way in a different sense because now BSA is doing this thing where they're changing themselves from BSA to Scouting of America because they want to allow young women to be a part of it, which I'm all for. I have no problem with it. A lot of people do, and I don't understand why. They're like, well, there's a thing for that. It's called Venture Scouts, which is true. There's a thing called Venture Scouts, and if I remember correctly, you can do it from the time you're 16 till the time you're 21, and it's mixed guys and girls. It's co-ed, and they get to do a lot more of the high adventure stuff, because they're older and they're better trained and things like that.
Yeah.
A lot of people are against being that inclusionary at the younger ages, and I'm thinking, why? I mean, obviously, you're not going to let the 12-year-old boy and the 12-year-old girl in the same tent. Obviously, we're not doing that. Girls can bunk with girls, guys bunk with guys. It's just the way it's always been and it ought to be. But to not allow them at all just because that's not the way it's been done before, fuck you. Fuck you. If that little girl wants to come in there and go backpacking in the New Mexico desert for a fucking week, fucking let her. If that little boy wants to go over and fucking be a brownie scout or whatever they're called now, fucking let him. Who gives a shit?
See, that's your ignorance coming in. And I say that without trying to be insulting. You literally have no idea what it's like to grow up in the conservative Christian household.
You're right. I don't.
I do, as we previously discussed on the previous episode. It is a very much like boys do what boys do, girls do what girls do, and the two should never meet in the middle. You cannot have a mixing, because if you mix it, then roles start to get reversed, and then women aren't wearing skirts anymore, and men are in the kitchen. It's stupid shit like that stops, that impedes the progress and impedes actual change in organizations like that.
Fuck that. Ladies, teach your boy how to cook, because if he grows up to be a heterosexual male, women are going to love the fact that he knows how to cook. Men, teach your daughters how to fix their fucking car so they're not stuck on the side of the road waiting for Joe Schmo to take advantage of them in the middle of the night.
Right. And it's funny you bring it up, because Chris has learned he has learned in the past year how to cook. I
knew how to cook before, I just didn't use those skills.
Yeah,
I have now utilized those skills and grown upon them. Right. Yes.
You knew how to cook, but you didn't have
I didn't have the drive.
You didn't have the drive too.
I didn't care.
Yeah. That's fine. I understand that, because I get in the same fucking boat. But now you understand the reason why, even though I don't cook every day, though I have been doing it for the last couple of weeks and it's been kind of nice. Even though I don't cook every day, when you cook for yourself, it's kind of fun. You get to do weird shit. You get to play with your food. But when you don't cook for yourself, or when you're just being lazy about it, you get to eat what somebody else prepared for you with their palate. You know,
and it's not necessarily what you want. I'm going to spice things differently than you would spice them, for instance. Yeah, I don't understand that. And I understand to a certain extent the stupid conservative Southern culture where a lot of that comes out. I don't agree with it. And I don't agree with Scouting of America or BSA or whatever they're calling themselves now being like that. I don't agree with it. Let the girls in, let the boys into Boy Scouts or into Girl Scouts, let them commingle. It should just be, this shouldn't even be an issue anymore. It's fucking 2020 for Christ's sake. Let the kids do what they want to do to enrich their lives. Because at the end of the day, that's what scouting is. It's meant there to enrich these kids' lives.
Well, that's the problem you have with 70-year-old men running an organization like this. They don't understand how society has changed because to them it has not changed. Why? Because they have built a world around themselves where nothing has changed in the last 50 years.
Perfect point of that. Perfect point. I think this has changed now. It may not have. So bear with me if it has. There are shooting merit badges available in the Scouts. Okay. Yeah. However, in order to do that, you have to be with a qualified instructor. Okay. Makes sense, right? You can't just have your dad take you out back and, you know, fire a couple rounds and get the merit badge. Be with a qualified instructor. Okay. That I can accept. For the longest time, and I don't know if this is still in effect, BSA only allowed NRA certified instructors to teach those merit badges. And I'm sorry. And I'm the weirdest fucking liberal ever because I own 3 guns and I love them and I've grown up with them and I have respect for the weapon. But the NRA is a little backwards in their way of thinking about a lot of things.
Well,
they do some good. I'll give them that. They do some good. They're not a completely terrible organization. For the most part, your average Joe Blow on the street you're going to run into that's a member of the NRA is probably a decent person.
Yeah.
It's the people in the office in Northern Virginia that can suck my fucking cock.
Well, here's what NRA used to do well. They used to teach kids gun safety. They used to go to schools and teach kids, like, hey, if you come across a gun, this is what you don't do this, don't do that, stuff like that.
Right.
They also took these kids and put them out on hunting trips to learn how to use their rifles.
They ran youth hunter safety courses. Now the NRA, just to be clear, and I don't care if you don't like what I'm about to say, because I'm not even a liberal. I'm so far fucking left that liberals look at me like I'm crazy. The NRA is now in the business of selling fucking guns, period. Yes, they are.
There is no argument.
I agree with you. I think the NRA has turned into a ridiculous lobbying thing, and it's not what they're supposed to be.
Right.
They're supposed to be there to advocate for gun rights. Okay, that's fine. They're supposed to be there to protect law-abiding firearms owners, not the idiots out there that have them. They're there to protect law-abiding firearms owners, and they're there to teach.
Yeah.
That's what they're supposed to be about, and unfortunately, they've gotten very, very, very far away from that.
Yeah.
And a lot of that has to do with their upper management.
Wayne LaPierre. Oh, this episode's about Chris ranting, not just about Boy Scouts. Tell me about Wayne LaPierre.
I am not a fan of the way Wayne runs his business because Wayne is like 18,000 fucking years old and still thinks it's the Dark Ages and he hasn't kept up with the times at all. He barely keeps up with 2A culture, only to the extent of how he can get his next bill in through Congress.
Right.
Their whole infrastructure, the whole way they have their organization set up is so backwards and so back in time, it's not even funny. I'm very disappointed in them. Yeah. Very. I will not be an NRA member because of the way they run their organization now. There are lots of guys in the NRA that I respect, not in their upper management, but there are lots of guys that are in the NRA that I respect. For instance, guy, I watch a lot of his videos, a guy by the name of Colion Noir. Mm-hmm. Very, very intelligent dude. And he breaks down things so well. And he has not arguments, but civil discussions with people where he's extremely 2A and he has discussions with people who aren't. And he sees their point of view and he doesn't sit there and try to change it. He asks them to explain it so he can explain his. Colion Noir is the way all of the NRA should be.
The problem is that Colion Noir also, when he gets into politics, is kind of fucking stupid.
We're going to agree to disagree on that one. I think there are times where, and he's retracted some statements before where he's like, this was said in the heat of the moment. I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we're going to agree to disagree on that one. I understand a lot from where his frustrations come from, and that's what it is. It's frustration dealing with idiots on both sides of that camp. Because there's idiots on both sides of that camp.
Yeah.
Now you got me rolling. I can think of so many things I'm pissed off about right now. Here's another good one. So about 2 weeks ago, while we're dealing, because we're recording this while we're still under quarantine and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
About
Stay
2 weeks.
at home, wash your hands.
Stay at home, wash your hands, cough into your armpit or your elbow pit or whatever. Don't cough on people. Unless they're the president of the United States. Yep, I said it. Sorry, cough on him.
Well, this episode's never going to be released. Continue, Chris.
So one of my great loves as a kid was marine biology. I almost became a marine biologist until my inner fear got a hold of me, and I remembered, oh yeah, there's things in the ocean that are bigger and hungrier than me. You will not see me get in the ocean past my waist if the water is clear, and not past my kneecaps if it's not, because I am that scared. And duly so, there are things in the ocean that are bigger and hungrier than me, and I do not want to be their next meal. Beside the point, one of my biggest loves in marine biology was as a kid, all of us 90s babies, we remember this fucking Free Willy, man. Yeah! And that set off my huge love for killer whales, orcas. And I've watched pretty much everything you can watch about them, including Blackfish, which if you haven't seen the documentary Blackfish, even if you're not big on the science side or whatever, I highly recommend it. And this is why I bring this up now. Because in the year 2020, we are still keeping animals in captivity that quite likely have more brain functionality or even more intelligence than us. It has been scientifically proven that in the brain of an Orcinus orca is an entire part of their brain that we don't have. And based on the structure and its location in their brain, the only logical scientific conclusion to conclude from that is that is an entire section of their brain purely devoted to emotion. It is purely devoted to emotional reasoning and emotional acceptance in their family units. These are highly emotional, highly intelligent creatures, and we are keeping them locked in your backyard swimming pool from their point of view.
Yeah.
I bring that up now because while SeaWorld's sales have gone way down, lots of people are not going anymore. I will never go to one of those parks ever again, especially after watching Blackfish. Which
I almost feel guilty going to a zoo. Like at this point.
I know. I was having this conversation with someone the other day. There's only 2 aquariums in the continental United States that I will go to because 90% of their animals were either rescues or are rehab animals. And that is the Georgia Aquarium.
Which is awesome.
Which is amazing to go to, or the Monterey Bay Aquarium.
Yeah.
Both of those facilities do that. I bring this up now because right now, while everyone's stuck at home, not only are these animals still stuck in their backyard swimming pools, they're stuck in their backyard swimming pools with even less stimulation than they were getting before.
Yeah.
Now you don't have them doing as many shows, as abhorrent as it is. It's a form of stimulation for them. You don't have the crowds there. You don't have the kids. You don't have the people who are paying the exorbitant amount of dollars to have personal experiences with those animals. So they're getting even less stimulation right now.
Yeah.
And I can't even imagine what some of these animals are going through. Matter of fact, there's a specific animal I'm thinking of right now. It is an orca in the Miami Seaquarium. Fuck you, who is...
Damn, Chris coming out firing today. I like this.
There's an orca in the Miami Seaquarium by the name of Lolita. She is in the recorded smallest enclosure for an orca of her size, and she's like 50, she's 50 years old.
Holy shit, really?
Yeah, for people who don't know, SeaWorld's been lying to you. Orcas don't live human lifespans. They live at least 80 years old, if not more. There's been a recording of a wild female matriarch being 120 years old, okay?
Yeah.
So when SeaWorld tries to tell you that they only live 35 years, they do in their parks.
Yeah. You know, because they fucking Joe Exotic them.
Basically, yeah.
Like, that's not a joke, folks. Look it up. Watch Blackfish if you haven't already. They euthanize their whales.
They have. And a lot of whales die in captivity from whale-on-whale violence or from eating their enclosures, or they... Places like that like to say, oh, well, they survive here longer because they have great veterinary care. Okay, then explain to me the 120-year-old whale out in Puget Sound that's been doing just fine without any veterinary care.
Right.
Can't? Okay, cool. No, I bring that up now, like I said, because no one's going to these parks right now, even less than they were before because all these sales are going down. Poor Lolita, not only is she in the smallest enclosure for a whale of her size, she's in that enclosure alone. She is the only...
No other whales in it?
No other whales in that enclosure. She is entirely and completely alone. When the last hurricane hit the Florida coast, if that hurricane had not moved its track at the last minute,
she would have gotten hit with the full force, and they did not move her.
What the fuck? Why?
Because it would have cost too much.
Oh, tough shit. Don't get a giant animal.
So SeaWorld's party line right now is we're not gonna have any more animal shows with the trainers in the water, and that's partially because of OSHA. We're also ending our captive breeding program, which is true. They have, partially because they meant to, partially because they're only captive. No, partially because they're only captive male that they got back in the 70s passed away. So they have no more. Yeah, Telecom's dead. So they officially ended their breeding program. So this is the last generation of whales that will ever be in captivity in the United States. I'll get more to why I said specifically in the United States in a second. There's a big group working right now to try and find a place for these captive animals to basically retire. They're trying to find a retirement home area that they can build for these animals. The idea is to find a cove or a bay somewhere that can be netted off at a certain distance, because these animals will require ridiculous amounts of training to go straight back to the wild. You can't free willy them. You absolutely can't. It would kill them. Can you put them someplace where they're in their natural habitat to a certain extent, where they still have the veterinary care and the human interaction that they're very much used to and very much depend on to survive right now? And you can still have the public enjoy them in a passive way. The idea is to basically net off a bay or cove, put these whales in there, have veterinary care nearby, have marine biologists working, studying them in their natural habitats uninvasively, and have a boardwalk system where the public can still see them without them being forced to perform or do anything. They're able to do whatever the fuck they want until they pass away of natural causes.
Right.
And SeaWorld's party line on this is, nope, that'll kill them.
No, it won't. That'll actually give them life and shit to live for.
Yeah.
There, SeaWorld.
You got to remember, people, this is the same company that would take calves from their mothers to transfer them to other parks.
Yeah.
Without discretion.
Yeah, they would just do it. Like
imagine that. Imagine you're a woman, and for those of you that are women, that's not hard. But if you're not, imagine you're a woman. You're sitting in the hospital.
Hell, if you're a husband, and you have a kid,
You're sitting in the hospital. You're holding your brand new born baby, and someone says, "Okay, well, this baby's needed another home, so we're going to take it from you," and you have no choice. Imagine what that feels like for someone who can communicate to the entire world how that feels.
Yeah.
Now take that ability to communicate with the entire world away.
Right. And these orcas do not, they a lot of people say, oh, they're just animals, they don't care. No, orcas really do care. Orca familial units last forever.
Yes.
They hunt as a group, they live as a group.
Once they're born, they do not leave their mother's side for their entire lives.
Yeah.
Their entire lives.
And to separate that and then just be like, well, we're doing it so like they have a better chance at life. No, you're fucking lying.
No, you're an absolute liar, and they've been doing it for years.
Yeah.
And my mother actually made a comment about this that I found both disturbing and correct at the same time. When I explained all this to her and I had her watch the film, she's like, okay, yeah, I'm never going back either. She's like, but it's sad. And I said, what exactly is sad about it, Mom? And she said, because going to SeaWorld when you were 5 years old and getting to see them up close is what really made you fall in love with them and started you on this path of learning everything you could about them from a civilian standpoint. And now you don't feel that way. So whenever you have children, you're not going to take them. They're not going to get that same experience. And to a certain extent, I understand where she's coming from. It is sad. It is sad that those parks treat their animals so badly that I can't feel comfortable taking small children that I'm in charge of to learn about the animals there.
Right.
That's sad. That's sad that no children should have the same experience I did.
Right. But also, you have other options. Like you could take a day trip to Atlanta and go see quite possibly one of the best aquariums in the world where they have these giant animals.
Yeah. Not orcas specifically, but yes, but where they have a couple belugas. Those belugas were rescues.
Yeah.
And they've got some whale sharks, and two of them were rescues, and then they started breeding them. And all the ones there are being used as well for scientific research to help the animals that are in the wild.
And I don't know if you've seen the tank that's in like basically the center of the Atlanta.
Oh, it's massive.
It's huge.
It has to be because it's got 4 whale sharks in it.
Yeah.
Should it be bigger? Yeah, of course it should be bigger.
It's Atlanta. You only got so much real
Right.
estate.
I am very impressed with what the Georgia Aquarium has done with that and how much research and scientific work they do with those animals.
Yeah, it's fucking insane when you look at it, and it's just a fucking aquarium in the middle of Atlanta, and it's like it's one of the few aquariums I like going to. I hate going to aquariums. I find this is just me, but I find watching fish swim boring as fuck because it's just watching fish swim.
Right. That's all it is.
But that aquarium was really cool. That aquarium really did really give you that sense of awe, like especially when a fucking whale shark just comes swimming right at the front of the tank, and then
largest fish in the world.
Oh my god! I'm like, thank God that thing doesn't have teeth.
The problem is the aquariums in the United States are starting to get a lot better about this. You know, a lot of them don't capture anymore. It's a rehab thing or it's a rescue thing if there's an injured animal. And as unfortunate it is, after a certain amount of time of being around humans, you can't deliver that animal back to the wild because it's so entrenched in being fed and cared for by a human. You can't.
Yeah.
And there's nothing you can do about that to a certain extent in America. However, our friends across the ocean have decided to restart their cetacean capture programs. There are now, how many is it? 6 separate parks opening in China with 15 newly captured orcas as of the last 3 or 4 years.
What a surprise.
And if they're not capturing them, the Russians are and selling them to them. Because if they all decided, no, we're going to do this again. Matter of fact, Russia had to deal with a lot of bullshit when aerial footage caught a giant pen system that they had on their coast of a shit ton of orcas and beluga whales being held for captivity to be sold and moved into Russian and Chinese aquariums. Greenpeace got involved with that. A lot of people got involved with that and finally got the ones that were still there re-released. Unfortunately, a lot of them had already been sold and a lot of them had been sold to China.
Yeah.
And the problem with that, I watched another documentary about this here in the last few weeks. As far as knowing about the animals and the knowledge of those animals, the Chinese and the Russians are about 50 years behind us.
Yeah.
Think about that. SeaWorld, as backwards as it is, imagine SeaWorld in 1970. That's what's happening with China and Russia right now. That's how little they understand.
Yeah.
Their people are going to get killed or they're going to kill their animals or both.
Yeah. And it'll be a huge international incident. We'll see it on the fucking news. And people like me and Chris will go, we told you. Yeah.
We told you you're taking these highly intelligent, highly sociable animals and putting them in your backyard swimming pool. What the fuck did you think was going to happen? Here's something not a lot of people realize. There has never, and I mean never, ever been a recorded attack of an orca on a human in the wild. Never.
Yeah.
There have been multiple recorded attacks of orca on human violence in captivity.
Yeah. And the reason,
what does that tell you?
It tells me that the orca really hates being locked in a cage.
Yeah. Think about it this way. Think about a guy who gets popped for something first time, goes to prison, been a relatively decent person their whole life, goes to prison, and they come out being a violent son of a bitch.
Well, it's
same basic concept.
Kind of. I'd love to do an episode about prison reform because I have thoughts and opinions on that. But this is your episode to bitch, so we'll
the only thing I'll say on that is fuck the prison system, fuck the for-profit prison system.
Yeah, it's horseshit.
Fuck that. That is the most ridiculous fucking thing I've ever heard, and the tax kickbacks and all the money that's being made off of that is fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, nope, not getting into it. We'll save that for another.
We don't
episode.
have enough time for that one.
But yeah, it's kind of fucking. I don't understand. Because it might just be the way my brain works, but like just keeping something like that that is intelligent, know that it has a concept of its own death, of its own captivity, of its own family, and keeping it in basically a gigantic pool. And let's be real here, that SeaWorld like orca pool ain't really that fucking big.
No, it's not.
It never was that big. And to keep them in captivity and just go, well, it's better for them. Fuck you. They have their own thoughts. Why don't you let them decide? How about this? How about you have a SeaWorld boat and then you have wide open ocean and you let the orca go. And then if he swims back to you, you can keep him. oh, wait, that's not going to work, is it?
No, it's not, because they're so conditioned to human nature that they'd go right back.
Yeah, exactly. Why? Because
You conditioned them.
You have made these gigantic animals into slaves. It is the new form of slavery.
It really is. It really is. And something that really grabs people's attention is if you go to where the right whales and the gray whales breed, where they calve, the full-grown adult mothers will purposefully, you can see millions of videos about this on YouTube, will purposefully bring their calves up to boats to meet people and let people touch and pet their calves.
Yeah.
No one knows for certain why. The only thing scientists can figure is that they're purposely trying to teach their young about humans.
Yeah. They're taking them to our aquarium.
Yes, they're taking them to our zoo. That's what's happening. They're trying to teach their children about us.
Yeah.
Full well knowing that we have killed and decimated their species. Matter of fact, there's a study done not long ago that there are some sperm whales alive now that may have been alive during the great whaling years in the 1800s.
So you tell me there might actually be a Moby Dick?
He wouldn't be white, but yeah.
Damn it.
So there are whales alive that could conceivably remember that point in time.
Yeah.
And they still do not hurt people intentionally in the wild. It does not happen.
Right.
So we're keeping a creature like that in captivity for our own personal benefit and for our own personal profit. And I'm sorry, it needs to stop.
Yeah.
Let them free, or let them into their sea pens, into their retirement home. Same thing with the dolphins. Same thing with any other marine mammal with even a modicum of intelligence.
Yeah. Oh, not even just marine animal, any animal.
Any animal.
I hate seeing apes locked up in a cage.
Oh, great apes? Oh, yeah, it's the same exact thing. They're absolutely intelligent in their own right. They have higher thinking processes. They use tools. They learn from their environment.
Yeah.
And we keep them locked up and throw bananas at them because people suck.
Yeah.
People suck.
It's like when we went to the Cheyenne Zoo, the one that's in Colorado, that's actually built on a fucking mountain. Really cool zoo. I liked it. They gave those animals a lot of fucking room, which made me happy. But going into the ape part of the zoo, I was sitting down, I literally sat down next to the glass with a giant orangutan, fucking looked at least 40 years old, and it just sat there and we just hung out. He wasn't aggressive or anything like that.
Of course not.
He was just sitting there eating. And then we went to the gorillas, and the gorillas were like fucking prison convicts.
Yeah.
They were aggressive. They were throwing shit. You obviously saw the group dynamic of one guy in charge, the other two just ain't doing shit.
I've been stuck in my house for a month, and I'm starting to get a little testy. Imagine how they are after 30 fucking years.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, when it comes to stuff like this, it kills me on the inside. Because these animals, I understand fish or other simple animals, they may love humans and they may be cool with being put in captivity. It's not going to be affecting them. But the ones that are actually higher intelligence, like whales and like great apes, it legitimately, it kills them quicker.
Yes, it absolutely does.
Yeah.
Absolutely 100% does.
And especially orangutans, gorillas, fucking bonobos, shit like that. They know what they're doing. They know what their life is.
Yes.
And never mind. I'm not gonna get on that fucking rant. This is your rant episode.
So another thing SeaWorld will probably start bringing up, because for people who don't know, they will use this. They will say, "Oh, well, we did it once. We freed not them, but in the world, we freed a whale once, and he died." And of course, they're talking about the whale that played Willie. They're talking about Keiko.
Yeah.
Did he die? Yes, he did. After 5 years on his own in the wild.
Right.
He survived 5 years on his own after being rehabilitated and retrained to be in the wild.
Yeah.
He survived for 5 years. You know what killed him? Pneumonia.
Yeah. From what?
Ice.
Yeah.
Because
he wasn't used to that temperature.
No, because when he finally got free, they did it off the coast of Iceland, where he was taken from. And once he was freed, and he'd gotten used to the waters around there, he bolted. And they didn't get a ping off of him for weeks. They finally get a ping off of him in a fjord in Norway that he'd set up as his home, and started basically being friendly with the local fishermen because he's so used to people after so many years.
Yeah.
What killed him was he got trapped under some ice, something he's not used to, scraped up the top of his head, which caused an infection, which led to pneumonia, and that's how he died.
Yeah.
So did he die in the wild? Yes, after 5 years of freedom. And I'm sure that if that whale could talk, he would say those were the best 5 years of his life.
Yeah.
Guaranteed.
Because he got to be free.
Exactly. We finally freed Willie, and he got to be free for 5 years. So you're telling me that we can't do that again? You're telling me that it's going to kill them faster? You're telling me that they don't deserve it? You're telling me that your profits are more important? Your misinformation is more important than the life of a highly intelligent, highly sociable creature? Fuck you.
Yeah. Your
Fuck you to
entertainment
the
is
nth
not
degree.
worth someone's life.
No, it's not.
And I say someone as in another being. Because let's be real here. Orcas are basically humans that live underwater.
Yep, they're basically people that swim.
Yeah. So let's stop this bullshit about they're just animals. No, they're not. You know what's just an animal? A goldfish. You know why? Because you can take a goldfish in a cup and then put him back in his own fucking water and then take him in a cup and put him in the like a fucking pond. He won't know the damn difference.
No.
And you just need to
But please, if you're going to keep fish in any way, please have some kind of oxygen in the tank. Don't just have a fish bowl that they die so fast that way. Please don't do that.
You have
please.
to have circulated oxygen that helps them. And clean your goddamn fish tank.
And clean your goddamn fish tanks, please. Do I recognize that there's going to be a generation of kids that don't get to go to a place like SeaWorld and see one of these animals live and up close, and maybe that might inspire them to learn more about them? Yeah, I do, and that's kind of sad in a way. But I would much rather that those kids' parents take them out to Puget Sound, take them out to Vancouver, take them out to Iceland to see that animal in the wild. And if you get lucky enough to have a personal experience, the connection will be that much stronger and will drive them that much harder to learn more about those animals.
Yeah, because let's be real here. Watching an orca jump through a hoop is going to teach you versus watching a orca in the wild live its actual life will teach you more.
Yeah.
And you will learn more and have more respect for it. You see a fucking orca jump through a hoop, you're like, oh, it's a fucking circus clown.
Basically.
Like you see it out in the wild and you're like, oh shit, this thing is the perfect killing machine almost.
Yes,
like,
it is. The perfect killing machine with teeth the size of your fist that will not lay a flipper on you.
Yeah. I mean, it'll kill the shit out of a moose, but
Yeah. So we recently had to teach John's wife just how big a moose was because she didn't realize just how big moose are. And in doing that, John learned that the moose's only natural predator in Alaska is the killer whale.
Yeah.
Because moose will swim to get across small bays and whatnot, and orcas will eat them.
Yeah. Well, because otherwise, moose has no predator.
Yeah.
At all.
If you haven't seen a moose, stop listening real quick.
Yeah.
Look up a moose. Look up how big that son of a bitch is. Most moose at the height of their shoulder are shack sized.
Yeah.
Like Shaq is dwarfed by a fucking moose.
Yeah. And they're the last of the megafaunas.
Yep. Moose, elk, caribou.
Yep.
That whole family.
And their only fucking predator is a guy that cannot get them so long as they're not in the water.
Exactly. Bears ain't going after a moose.
No.
Bears aren't stupid.
Yeah.
People, on the other hand, will walk right up. Oh, look at that moose. I'm going to take a picture of it. Oh, God, why did it hurt me? I don't know. Maybe because you walked up to a fucking moose.
Here, let me put Timmy on his back and take a picture. It'll be cute. And then you become a Yellowstone statistic.
Right. And that's going to be my last part of this rant is people. People.
Here we go.
People.
We get into it.
People are fucking stupid.
Yes, they
Jesus
are.
Christ. People are so fucking stupid. And we're seeing a lot of it more now than at any other time in my lifetime. Have I realized just how ignorant and stupid people can be. And they say common sense isn't either common or sense. And you know what? There has been no other point in my history that has proven that more than this last 3 months.
Well, this is the fucking dumb shit that I knew was going to happen. I called it the minute in 2016 that the circus clown got elected. I said, boy, oh boy, we are going to see stupidity on a level we have never seen. It's going to wake people up, or it's going to be like, hell yeah, that's fun.
It's done a bit of both, unfortunately.
And you know, now in our home state of Tennessee, there are people protesting saying free Tennessee.
Yeah. Because
glorious great leader started a tweet thread of free said state.
Yeah, which it's ridiculous, especially during this time. Like, I get it, guys. I really and truly do. Putting on your gloves and putting on your mask to go out to the grocery store, it's a pain in the ass. Absolutely. 100%. It's a pain in the ass. But you know what? It's not just you're protecting. It's everybody else around you that you're helping to protect too.
It's like I took the last 2 weeks to be in quarantine because my wife was put into quarantine. She didn't have coronavirus. Before anyone freaks out, she did not have coronavirus.
But it was one of those better safe than sorry kind of things.
I think she had like an upper respiratory virus,
which she is extremely prone to getting.
Yeah, and I stayed at home. I didn't feel sick. I didn't feel any of the symptoms. You know why I stayed home? Because I don't want to give somebody's 80-year-old grandmother coronavirus or something of that nature and kill her, because I would feel bad about this.
Right.
So all these assholes out here, and let this be said clearly,
they are assholes.
They are assholes, and there are very few of them. Hundreds at best are showing up at these protests. So do not think that this is a huge conglomerate of people yet. These are like hundreds of people showing up because they're, middle class and white and nothing hurts them, going into these protests and putting other people's lives on the line.
Yeah. Oh, I saw the perfect thing about it. Oh, well, why don't you just obey authority? Oh, well, why don't you just obey authority? Oh, well, why don't you just obey authority? Well, fuck that. I don't want to get stuck at home. Oh, well, you only care when you have to obey authority.
Exactly. That's the reason why I always because we've had this argument about Black Lives and Blue Lives Matter because Chris's dad is a cop.
Yeah.
And I understand that. But that's the reason why I said this all lives matter shit when it came to the Black Lives Matter is a slap in the fucking face. Oh, you need to just obey authority and not do bad things. Yeah, well, guess what, Karen? Not everyone gets that fucking relaxation. We don't all get that that opportunity. Some of us just get stopped by the cops because of how we look and how we dress.
Mm-hmm. I've been profiled before.
And
we're two white dudes.
Yeah, we're two white Southern dudes.
And we've both been profiled before. Oh, and by the way, her name's no longer Karen.
Oh.
It's Rhonda.
It's Rhonda? Ah, shit.
Oh, and let me tell you people why Karen is
now
no
we're
longer
do the personal
Rhonda.
Bitching. I want to hear this.
Here's how we're going to close this one out with this story, just to underline just how stupid and idiotic people can be. So, it's a couple days ago. We're sitting in the house, let my dog Harvey out back, and he's doing a little barking.
He's a big dog.
He's a big dog. He's got a deep bark. He wants to talk to the other dogs in the neighborhood. There's one right next door. There's one across the fence from him. He's got lots of friends he wants to talk to. Not a big deal. It's the middle of the day, for the record, okay? About 20 minutes later, I get a knock on my door. Open the door, and it's a member of the local police department. Sir, do you have a dog out back? Yes, ma'am. Well, we've gotten some complaints about the noise. You might want to bring him in. And the look on her face was, I want to be anywhere but here right now. I said, all right, not a problem. Appreciate your time. Be safe out there. Said thank you. I let Harvey back in. Now, the community I'm in is HOA.
Yeah.
So our HOA has a Facebook group where mostly it just ends up being a bunch of old white ladies bitching about shit that old white ladies bitch about.
So you mean HOA?
Yeah, exactly. So I was pissed. I was really pissed. Not just that someone had called the cops on a dog for barking in the middle of the day, but the fact that they had wasted police resources, especially at a time like this where they have so many better things they could be fucking doing. They wasted cops' resources on calling someone because their dog was barking. So I got on the community page and I put up a post basically saying, whoever wasted MPD's time to call about someone's dog barking, screw you.
Yeah.
And oh my God, did it start a war.
Now, to put this in perspective, I'm a night owl. I usually sleep until like noon on a good day. Then like everyone's like, man, I'm sleeping until 1 in the afternoon during quarantine. I'm like, yeah, welcome to my life.
It's John's life all the time.
It's my life all the time. I've never once been woken up by Harvey barking.
Nope.
Ever. You know,
even in the middle of the day when he naps.
Yeah, even in the middle of the day when I'm asleep. No, Harvey has never woken me up with a bark. You know why? Because the houses are pretty well insulated. And to say that you hear this dog barking, you have to be looking for it. And I hate to say it, like, that's on you, homie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were absolutely looking for it. So this whole thing turned into a giant war on our community page.
Yeah.
And someone finally piped up, who I'm pretty sure was the person who called, who literally said, why is he barking all the time? What does he have to bark about? You need to control your dog.
He's a repeat offender.
He's
that
a
was
repeat.
my favorite part.
Oh, yeah. He's a repeat. If he's a repeat offender, you need to do something about it. First of all, stop right there, honey. Just stop. First of all, Karen, you've now been renamed Rhonda.
Right.
Dogs bark.
Yes.
That's what They do.
And the bigger they are, the deeper and louder that bark is.
That's very true. And I'm sorry, if my dog is in the confines of my property in my backyard minding his own business and happens to bark a little bit, guess what? Tough shit bitch.
Now, this all being said, this entire house was angry, but I think I may have been the angriest.
As you usually are.
Yeah, well, because I take it up a fucking notch. I was like, oh, no, fuck this bitch. We're going to make her regret ever saying this shit. So I weaponized music. I went on Spotify and I played a playlist called Songs to Piss Off Karen that had like heavy metal, black metal, fucking techno, like hard bass, fucking Russian shit on it.
And we went out the next day and sat on my back patio with my dog, who did not bark while we were out there, and grilled and blasted that music as loud as we fucking could.
For about 3 hours.
Yep. And we were very happy about it. Matter of fact, for about the next day or so afterwards, every time we let Harvey back in after he'd been barking for a little bit, we'd yell at him, no, we've got to let you in. We can't control you. Oh, God.
Oh, God. He's such an uncontrollable dog.
And I guarantee this has come from this fucking woman is probably sitting in her house with nothing better to fucking do. Her kids probably don't come see her anymore because she's such a mean old lady. And she's got nothing better to do than to bitch about her neighbor's dogs. People like that are wasting resources, that are wasting time over ridiculous shit that doesn't fucking matter. Get a grip, people. Just, for God's sakes, just get a grip on reality. Get a grip on life. Get a grip on yourself. I get it. Shit's tough. We're all in the same fucking boat at the moment. I hate to quote all those millions of fucking commercials right now. I could go off about that, but I'm not going to.
Yeah,
we're all in the same fucking boat right now. So you know what? Have a little decency. Have a little respect. Matter of fact, I'm pretty sure this is the same woman who bitched about the kids in the neighborhood skateboarding, saying that the skateboards were causing her dog's ears to hurt. I'm sorry. These kids have been out of school for the last month and a half. If they need to be outside,
and they're going to be out of school until next year.
Exactly. So if they need to be outside for a little while and they want to ride their skateboards, why don't you take your fucking dog in?
And it's like, first off, how's a fucking skateboard hurt your dog's ear?
Who fucking knows? It probably hurt her ears, but she blamed it on the goddamn dog.
Right. But there is a positive spin on this story that we found out, I think, yesterday.
Oh, yeah. Whether we're the cause of it or not, turns out she's moving.
Yay! We did it, Chris!
We win. We weren't even trying to win, but we won.
Oh, I was trying to win.
Oh, yeah, John was.
I was trying to get this bitch out of here.
So here's the point of this episode, everybody. Here's the point that I want you to take away from this episode. A, learn what common sense is and try and use it.
Yeah.
B, show some respect for your fellow man, woman, child, and or anything else.
Show respect for your fellow traveler on the earth.
Yes, whether they be human or cetacean or ape or anything else.
Right.
I encourage all of you to watch the film Blackfish if you don't know any of those things we discussed. By the way, SeaWorld would like to call that movie propaganda. And SeaWorld, once again, I would like to say, fuck you in your asshole. Directly in your asshole.
That movie's propaganda that we don't agree with.
And that's the whole point. So, common courtesy.
Mm-hmm.
Give everybody a little bit of patience right now while shit's going down.
Mm-hmm.
Watch Blackfish, because I promise you'll be crying by the end of it. I've seen it 3 times. I cry every fucking time. And stop being stupid for my benefit. If for no one else's, please stop being stupid for my benefit. And you know what else? There's one more thing I want everyone to do while we're all dealing with this. And you know what? From infinity to beyond, listen to the Anarchy Arena Podcast.
Oh my fucking God. Where are you, Buzz Lightyear?
Goddamn right I am.
Well, he was about Boy Scout too, I guess. So thank you guys so much for being here. I really do appreciate that. I've been Jonthejoker.
And I've been Chris Themetalbarrett, and we will see you next time on the Anarchy Arena Podcast.
Gotta get you to bitch more.